So if you find this sleep story helpful or interesting, then give it a thumbs up, leave any comments that you've got below, and if you aren't already, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you can receive notifications of when future sleep stories go live. I have dozens and dozens of stories already on my channel that you can go and search. I also release new stories every single week, so I hope you enjoy this story. So as you listen to this story, you can take a moment to close your eyes, to get yourself comfortable, and begin to relax and drift off asleep. And I don't know whether you'll drift off asleep faster to the sound of my voice, or to the spaces between my words. And as you drift asleep, so I'll just tell this story in the background. Now the kitten had never experienced Christmas before. The kitten was only young. And as Christmas approached, so the kitten would spend its time with the humans, and the humans would be sat on the floor, wrapping presents in paper, then getting some ribbon and wrapping ribbon around the presents. And the kitten just wanted to play with that ribbon. And occasionally, while playing with the ribbon, the kitten would accidentally scratch the paper wrapped around the present. And then the human would snap at them, as if they've done something wrong, because they couldn't understand. And the human would then wrap that present again with more paper, more ribbon. And again that kitten would get excited and want to play with that roll of paper, that when they slide on the paper and bash against it, it rolls and makes more paper. And they'd run around and keep bashing against that roll, and then get told off for scratching the paper. And so the kitten, upset with always being told off, tucked itself away in its cat bed, and didn't want to play, didn't want to spend time with the human, because it didn't want to keep getting told off. And then on Christmas Day, that kitten was wandering around in the living room and could see the humans with their presents, and the kitten tried to keep away from them, worried that it would do something wrong, worried that it would upset them, and it wouldn't even notice what it was that it was doing wrong. And then as the humans unwrapped these presents, the kitten was wondering why they'd gone to so much effort to wrap the presents if they're just going to rip that paper off of the presents. And the humans saw the kitten, and so they threw some of that wrapping paper towards the kitten, with smiles in their faces, and the kitten backed away. And so the humans threw a bit more wrapping paper towards that kitten, and some of the ribbons. And the kitten was worried and didn't want to go near it, in case it did something wrong. But the humans had smiles on their faces, and were saying something while looking at the wrapping paper and the ribbon, and then at the kitten, and then the wrapping paper and the ribbon. And so eventually the kitten slowly, carefully reached out with a paw to grab some of the ribbon. And the human then played with that ribbon with the kitten, and the kitten chased that ribbon, grabbed at that ribbon, got it in its claws, and then kicked at it with its rear legs, and then dived into the wrapping paper, pushing through that wrapping paper, catching the balls of wrapping paper, kicking them around. And then could see a box on its side, and the kitten ran and jumped to the box, flipping the box onto its back. As that box slid along the ground with the kitten inside it. And the kitten was feeling more relaxed and comfortable now, being allowed to play with the wrapping paper, with the ribbon, with the boxes, with the humans encouraging it to play. And it felt a bit conflicted, like why was this wrong the other day and allowed and right today? And the kitten couldn't understand at this point the difference in context, what was different about each situation. The kitten would learn that one day, but for today the kitten was busy playing. And then one of the humans placed what looked like a small present on the floor in front of the kitten, and the kitten smelt that and could smell something funny inside it, something compelling. And so the kitten bit at that wrapping paper and scratched at that wrapping paper and found what was like a material fish in that wrapping paper. And the smell of this fish was somehow making the kitten more excitable. And so the kitten played with that fish, grabbed at it, kicked at it, knocked it away and then chased it around. And after many hours of playing, the kitten felt tired and decided to go to its bed, where it curled around, relaxed down, and drifted comfortably asleep. And as the kitten drifted comfortably, relaxed asleep, so that kitten began to dream. And it began to dream that it was walking along through a corridor, a little bit like a corridor in its home. It was walking along through that corridor, and at the end of the corridor is a mirror, and that kitten walked all the way to the mirror. And at the mirror, that kitten could begin to see itself walking towards itself. And when it reached the mirror, it noticed the most unusual thing, that its reflection in the mirror looked just like a lion, many, many times larger than the kitten is. And the kitten stepped into that mirror. And as it did, it was almost as if the lion was stepping out of the mirror. And as it did, what it was seeing through the mirror began to change. The kitten began to feel really warm. And once it had stepped through the mirror, it turned around. And back through the mirror, it could see what looked like itself, the other side of the mirror. And then it turned away from the mirror and looked around itself and realized it was in a large, open area, like a savannah. And that kitten walked down to a small lake in this savannah and noticed that lake was so still and calm. And as it reached that lake, so it looked down at itself in the lake and realized it looked like a lion. And the kitten could feel that strength, could feel the size that it was now. And so seeing itself as a lion in that lake wasn't a surprise, but confirmation of its experience. And that kitten spent some time exploring what it was like to be a lion, roaming around on a savannah, before resting up with the rest of its pride and drifting and floating asleep. And as that kitten, as that lion drifted and floated asleep, so it found its mind wandering even deeper into this dream experience. It was back as a kitten again, only this time it was walking through some snow. And the kitten only knew what snow was because it could see it outside the window at home. It had never actually been out in it, and now it had been, it felt so cold. And as that kitten walked along, so it bumped into an elf wearing a green outfit and a green hat with red trim to that hat and red boots. And the elf spoke with the kitten, and the kitten understood the elf, and the elf seemed to understand that kitten. And the elf explained that there's someone who wants to see them. So they followed that elf, walking through the snow, until they arrived at what looked like a small little property, nothing more than a shack. They walked into that shack to discover it as being a vast warehouse just underneath the surface. And in the office they met Santa Claus, and Santa Claus explained why it was that people were snapping at the kitten and why it was people weren't snapping at the kitten on Christmas Day. And Santa explained that his job is to bring happiness, to deliver gifts to people all over the world. And that gifts get delivered to pets and animals as well as people. and that even animals in woodland, even animals on the Savannah, receive gifts. But not everyone wants a brand new bike. Some gifts might be as simple as an item of food or a drink of water. And that it's not about the most expensive gift. It's about the right gift for that person or that animal. And Santa explains that the gift for the kitten was the wrapping paper and the ribbon, that it was bringing that joy on Christmas Day. And the kitten is intrigued by all this, is in awe at meeting Santa Claus. And so, after their experience meeting Santa, they continue to drift deeper and more relaxed to sleep. And the next day they wake up. They see the humans cleaning up. They see the humans. They feel that the house is beginning to look a bit bare, with no presents under a tree anymore. But these humans pay far more attention to the kitten now than they did on Christmas Day, because they don't seem to be so distracted by all those material objects, by the gifts they were receiving. Instead, they're more focused on experiences they're sharing than on presents. And they sit on the floor and play with the kitten, and they stroke its back and get relaxed by its purr, while it relaxes with its back being stroked. And the kitten feels so fortunate to be able to have these humans in its life, that it can help to be happy, and they help that kitten to be happy. And every day that kitten spends time relaxing and then playing with the humans, and then going and drifting and floating and relaxing asleep. Sleeping relaxed and soundly all